Hello and welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast dedicated to igniting your entrepreneurial spirit and empowering you to conquer new horizons. In this podcast, we chat with inspiring entrepreneurs on their journey to success through some amazingly insightful and expansive conversations. These episodes thrive on thought-provoking chats where our guests fearlessly explore their path to success, sharing their experiences, failures, and triumphs. No topic is off limits as we deep dive into the talked about and not so talked about pieces it takes to build a business, overcome limiting beliefs, deal with personal struggles, and everything in between that shapes our lives and our businesses. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, creator and founder at The Lotus Effect, where we believe that success is not just about strategies and tactics, it's about cultivating a powerful mindset and creating customized business operations that align with you and your true purpose. Whether it's mastering time management, improving productivity, enhancing leadership skills, or simply fostering a growth-oriented mindset, we'll provide you with the tools and strategies to flourish in both your business and personal life. I'm so excited to have you join us today in this episode, so get ready to feel empowered and inspired as we learn together and from one another on how to rise above challenges, break through limitations, and unlock our full potential. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I have a very special guest with me today, and I'm so super excited to have her with me. So, Joy Brooks, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast. And please do us all a favor. Tell us who you are, what it is that you do, and what got you into this space.
Who I am. Okay, we'll talk about the space that I'm in because that much I know. So I do email marketing, but I also do a podcast, and that podcast is a method to educate me because one needs to be humble. And I also do a Women in Email Marketing Masterclass, which is a little group of about 8 women that meet over 18 weeks and talk about things in their lives. And we all act as mentors for each other, mentesses, whatever. We all help each other, talk with each other. So that means, who am I? I am an email marketer that has been working in email since conception, not my conception. Email's conception, and have found that it is the most satisfying job ever. It defines me in every way. It is my skill set. It's an odd marriage that even my husband couldn't get me to divorce. So I hope I answered all of those questions.
Yeah, I love that. No, you're good. I love that. And I love that you said that the space that you have everyone in, it sounds like it's people mentoring each other. So it's like this huge brainstorming collaboration, like you learn from me, I learn from you, open container, which in my opinion, I think is fantastic, right? Because I do feel like we all have the ability to be the teacher and be the student at some point. And sometimes you can switch or sometimes you're both, but being open to that, I think just really helps blossom where you can take off in both your personal life and your business, right?
I try to remind myself because I am pretty damn assertive. Yeah, I'm from New York. So everybody, hello, I'm from New York. So I'm pretty assertive, which means, I come into the room, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm an extrovert. It just means I come into a room and I think who I am. Mm-hmm. Right? And I constantly need the moment of humility to say who I am. I'm a speck. I'm flotsam and jetsam. I am who I am. I'm always becoming, and let's not let that assertive personality overtake the miracle that life is, because every day there's at least 50 miracles that happen, and we usually pass them by and then say what a shitty day we've had. And it's a crying shame because there's a miracle a minute.
Yeah. No, I agree with that one a lot. And I know we talked about this a little bit before when I was on your podcast about understanding those micro changes and those micro things that make you happy, those little improvements, those little celebrations, which we don't realize is what builds to create that ginormous one that we eventually get to. But we forget to celebrate those small milestones, right? Which can be
And
so important.
you even celebrate the failures. Now, I don't mean whoopee.
Mm-hmm.
I just lost $5,000, and they aren't I happy about that? That's not the celebration. The celebration is I lost this account. It was bringing me $5,000 a month. What happened? When I say celebrate, I mean, look at it because there's something to take out of it. Something to take out of it. You get laid off, it's terrible. You get fired, it's terrible. You break up, it's terrible. You have an argument, it's terrible. But it's only terrible if you leave it like that and you don't say, how did it happen? What did I do? What should I do tomorrow?
Yeah.
I don't always need to be right. And sometimes, women have this thing these days about apologizing. I'd say there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm sorry, if you're feeling sorrow, right? Doesn't have to be, I'm sorry doesn't mean I'm wrong. I'm wrong means I'm wrong. I'm sorry means I'm sorry. You can say, I'm sorry, but I don't feel I'm wrong here. You can't say that. It makes perfect sense. So there's something to be taken out of everything. And it's important to be able to give yourself the time to take on the challenge, to figure out what just happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I do think that there are always underlying reasons, lessons, and things. And if not, it, right, cycles on repeat. So yeah. Now I have to ask you, because email marketing, I feel like there's a lot of people that talk about it, but I feel like everyone has their own definition, which gets really blurred, just like when somebody talks about branding, like that gets very blurred by what that actually means. So what would you consider your definition of email marketing?
Okay. So there are, when you say, I like ice cream, you say, well, all ice cream, every flavor? No. Okay. So email marketing has flavors.
Okay.
Right? Still email marketing. So email marketing encompasses the ability for a brand, a solopreneur, a large company to send out emails to email addresses in behalf of the company. They should be, or in best case scenario, should be a mutual relationship whereby I've given you, the consumer or the client, have given you the company, my email address. That doesn't always happen. It doesn't have to happen, but it's usually the best relationship. And, in the United States, the law is still opt out, which means if I have acquired your email address, I can legally send you email, but I must provide you with a way to opt out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's legalese in America. That's not the way it is in other countries, and we should not assume that. So email is that relationship between the consumer or the client and the company, the service provider. That's the big picture. Now, there's transactional email. You go to the store, you purchase something. Now you're doing it through one of these automated checkouts, and it asks you, do you want a receipt or do you want me to send you an email? And you say, send me an email. Boing, the receipt goes to email. That's a transactional. Those are becoming very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Transactional can also be, you've got some sort of a contract provider. Let's say, I don't know, it's your insurance. And they send you a note saying that aside from the fact that, your bill is due, they may send you a note that says, here's your new contract. So these are transactional. They're not emailing you telling them what great service or any informative. They're telling you your bill's ready on this day. Transactional. So there's a lot of businesses that are strictly doing transactional. And they also will say, do you want to go paperless? And you say, yeah, because who the devil gets mail anymore? And so it's a transactional record. That's another kind of email. And then you've got your business to business, whereby you went to a conference and the conference center has the list of everybody that went to the conference. And now you send them letters saying, you went to the Javits Center conference in New York City. It was great to be in the same space with you, blah, 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 blah. You're doing nurturing your lead. You're setting up your leads. You're nurturing leads. This is what business to business does. They could also know that you're a customer, and they should be sending you a different message than the lead. Maybe you've purchased before and they know the cycle of their product, and they're sending you some sort of a message that is informative along the cycle of their product. So, every business is different. Obviously, if you're dealing with a company that sells jets, planes, they're not hitting you up every month. Oh, you're going to buy another plane? Doesn't happen. But if you are in a business where you have a fleet, they are. So again, same kind of setup, but it's a little different, business to business. And then you've got your direct to consumer or your e-commerce, different types of names, slightly different, but essentially the same, where you're promoting. Now, again, you've got a customer base where, they bought your sneakers and you sell socks. And you sell shorts and other things. So now you've got a little bit of information. Now you could back it up something else, or perhaps you do a seasonal where people buy shorts in the summer. Therefore, when the season comes, etc. So that's another kind of email. And all of these are slightly different. So, and then, in the space itself, you've got the enterprise version. Ooh, this is the version that does all these different things, and one person specializes in one. I do strategy. I'm a data engineer. I have a certificate from all these different things. All these different things. And that's the enterprise version, where now you've got a team of like 10 people, where one has no clue what the other one's doing, but always calls them up and says, it's broken, fix it.
I love that. But it's really interesting because people don't think about it when they think of emails, whether it's nurturing or sharing product information, or even just sharing what it is that you do to create a relationship. So that nurture, like you were talking about, I don't think that a lot of entrepreneurs understand that there are differences. And when you are reaching out to a customer or a potential client, you need to understand how that ebbs and flows without bombarding, right, the person that you're trying to reach out to. For instance, I had someone that loved their stuff on social media. I followed a lot of the things, attended a couple of the free courses that they had. And I was like, I'd like to get some more information. And it was like every single day I got an email for something. And it wasn't just relating. Actually, a lot of it left the relatability, which is why I followed their social media. It just went straight into like, this is what I can help you with. Here's what we're offering now. We're doing a sale here. And it was so overwhelming that I just completely unsubscribed, because I was like, this is a little ridiculous, right? And I understand that, right, everybody can sell their business and do all their things the way that they want to. And especially for a lot of entrepreneurs, us that are in the service-based industry, coaches, people like that, your potential clients are looking for the relatability, why they would want to work with you. That doesn't necessarily mean they always need to know how you can fix their problems.
One of the things about email and any business really, and the word is sustainable. So whatever you do, it can be cool. It could be, that new shiny thing, that new software, what trend, whatever. Is it sustainable? Do I have the army to do it? Is it just me? Does it sound great and I could do it for a month and then I'm exhausted and I don't know what the devil's going on? And that's difficult. It might be somewhat more easy for a larger company that has perhaps the ability to pull different people in, but then you've got 15 people with opinions and now nothing gets done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult. And I don't think that a lot of companies are doing it well. Like you said, if you're a customer and if it's a service, not a product, not a sneaker, because you can get away with sneakers. Oh, is that nice? I could buy another pair of sneakers. Yeah, those are really nice. I like it. But if it's a service, and perhaps you've purchased their service, maybe it was a coaching type of a thing where you went for a training class, or perhaps it's a piece of software or whatever it is. Now they know that you're in the system. They might not be tracking you completely. They might not be thinking like you completely. They might just be thinking I'll allow 3 segments and we've got 3 different messages. That's the end. I can't do anything else after that. Right. And some people don't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. And they won't allow for it. And they won't think about it. They don't have time. They'll say, like, you'll go to your marketing manager and you'll say, we've got people that have purchased this, and we've got people that have purchased this. And now I'm seeing a completely different demographic in the audience. I don't know what to do about it. The same message isn't going to work. And they'll turn around to you and say, we don't have a budget. We don't have time. Just keep doing what you're doing. And you're like, okay. Isn't that a shame? And that's what happens a lot of times. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Because they're okay with the revenue that's coming in. The only time that they're going to go back to is when the revenue stops. Then they're going to ask you, well, we need to punch it up. Or they're going to go to somebody that promises, oh, I'll get 20% revenue. Blah, 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 blah. No. And the thing is, could that happen? Yes, but you have to be able to pivot. And if you're too lean, you can't.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when we're talking about like solopreneurs or those that have very, very small teams, right? Like let's say an admin and a VA, right? Like it's just kind of you that's doing the hub. Do you have any like best practices that they should be aware of, that they should, again, I don't feel like we think about that. And like you said, when you bring other people on, and especially for a solopreneur, right, we're like ready to hand it off. Like, here you go. Like, and we don't really think about what we've handed off to that person. A lot of us that do that don't have systems in place and things like that. So, do you have best practices and stuff like that like people need to be aware of? Because you can become really spammy super quick. You could not give options for opting out or have it visible, right? Which can get you in a lot of trouble. And I know that like third-party email service providers have that option already at the bottom that you can't get rid of. But I think about all the people that are trying to build email lists and make that a part of how they build their business. And I do feel like there's probably a lot of pieces that are missing from that they should probably be aware of.
One of the scenarios, it's almost a case study where a third party is selling my product. When they do that, I get the lead, but the lead is not opt-in. It's opt-in for them. And they have the clause that says, you are opting in for products and promotions that are blah, blah, blah. So they have that. I don't have that. I still have to win over, even though the email that they got was all about my product. I still have to win them over. These are things that you don't necessarily think about when you sign those third-party, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread agreements, where they're going to get you 20%. That lead isn't yours. Now you still need to win them over.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
That happens sometimes. But there are a lot of other things. What should a solopreneur do? So if the solopreneur is handing it off, what are they handing off? Are they handing off the day-to-day sending of the email? Are they handing off the creation of the email and the sending of the email? Are they handing off the metrics? Are they handing off the whole kit and caboodle? Because once they do that, they don't know what's going on with their metrics, and they don't see the change when it happens. And it's subtle. And maybe it's like, maybe it's a good change. Maybe it's a bad change, right? So maybe it begins to degrade a point at a time, a half a point. And then the only time you see it is suddenly when, what? You need to be able to see those metrics and at least have a biweekly conversation with the specialist that's handling, air quotes, specialist that's handling your product. I'm sorry, your product line. Because they should be looking at it and seeing any red flags. Okay, the content was doing really well and suddenly we hit an impasse. Or the content doing okay and suddenly it's doing fantastically. Whatever it is. Or, like I said, in the case where we have this demographic and we're writing content for the demographic, but demographics changed. And I see, for example, we were selling all to men, and now I see women buying this product. Are they buying for men? Or are they buying for themselves? We thought it was just a manly kind of thing, and it's shifted. We were selling it to young people, and older people are buying it. I mean, anything can happen. You don't know. And if that's the case, then your content slowly slips, off balance. It's no longer in line. You're speaking to, who do you speak to yourself? And that's the problem. And that's when, like you unsubscribe because like, you know what? I love your product, but you're not speaking to me anymore because I only bought this, or I went for training. And if you knew what I was training, then you would maybe send me a monthly thing on that and not on all your other product lines. They're thinking they can upsell you. That's a valid strategy, but upsell you for 6 months and then maybe slow it down. You have to have some sort of a plan. The argument would be, oh, we'll just continue to upsell her because until she unsubscribes, because there may be another product that she might buy. And the truth is, Kat, there might be a product you might buy. That is a valid strategy. Would it be any more strategic to pull you out of that type of an upsell into some sort of other program? It could be, but it may be that you're at the point where you're never going to buy again. You're really never going to buy again. And you're either politely getting the emails going, aren't these great? Or you throw them into another folder and you don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing is they may argue, well, they may show it to a friend. So saying top of mind is valid enough. I'd rather stay top of mind so that she could do word of mouth. And that's also valid. So all of these things need to be fleshed out, and everybody needs to understand these are the options. This is what we're doing. This is what we're not doing. Okay, this is what we could be doing. And let's check back in another month.
Yeah.
Another month. The welcome campaign. It's working. Well, in 6 months, you could change it. Do you want to? I'd rather not. You should change. You should look at it. The other word is audit. So do an audit. Check it out. Oh, you know what? I didn't realize it's the end of the year and it still says last year, copyright last year. I would never have thought that. Oh, guess what? We moved. I didn't remember. Oh, the phone number changed. Little stupid logistic things are in there. And other than, there may have been a shift in who you're selling to and your products, all of these things. Selling products that don't exist, that's not a good thing.
It makes a lot of sense. And like you were saying too, and I love that you pointed this out, is you need to have a strategy behind what it is that you're doing. I feel like I have seen, not a ton, but I have seen it. And I think I've seen other people that are trying to build email lists that do this as well, where they feel like you were saying, just stay top of mind. So basically what they're doing is repetitively hitting your email with, content they posted on social media. I'm all for repurposing your content, and you have to be aware of what you're doing. What is the strategy behind that? Are you doing it, twice a week so that you can give them some relatability so they can know, like, and trust you, which is why they're going to want to buy. And then we slip in something about the product that I offer, or what is the layout to that? Because you're right. People do get stuck in just continuing to sell them the same product to the point to where, at least for me, right, I get annoyed. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to buy from you now. I am that person, right? I'm not the person that will keep looking at it and be like, well, maybe one day. If I know that it doesn't align with me, if I get irritated because you sent me a ton of emails, especially ones that are like repetitively, where you're constantly like, oh, but look at this, I just opt out of them. I don't have time for it. I also don't care to read a ton of emails.
It's good to opt out. It really is. Because if you've got a customer that bought it once, liked it, didn't like it that much, is not in love, ain't going to buy again, isn't going to tell anybody else about it, and they unsubscribe, fine. Not on my list. I don't have to worry about them anymore. I don't, I need somebody bad mouthing me. Right?
True. Very true.
So let them unsubscribe. Unsubscribes. I mean, obviously they're a metric, but it's also freedom. It's an option. It's a good thing. It's like I said before, when you have that bad day and you walk away and you just say, oh, I had a bad day, and you're not thinking, well, what happened? So the unsubscribe is like, well, what happened? Are we having a lot of unsubscribes lately? Something's not right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And like you said, that comes back to understanding how your business runs. And this is something I've talked about on the podcast, and I have talked about with clients as well. Like you were just saying, you should be looking at your business at least on a quarterly basis to see how things are going. And if you have other people that are helping you, even as a solopreneur, if you've got a VA that's doing your content, if you've got someone that's doing your emails and follow-ups and stuff like that, like you said, you need to be meeting with them at least bi-weekly, so that you are constantly on top of, okay, what's going on? Okay, the content's not doing that great. Maybe we need to change something up. Are we sending the same stuff constantly? Same thing with emails. Are we just repeating ourselves? Do we need to switch tactics? Because like you said, your business is always evolving. Your wording and the way that you talk about things is always evolving. Your customer base is always evolving. Demographics change from time to time. And if you aren't looking at your business on a regular basis, how are you supposed to know where those pitfalls are until you hit that spot where you're like, oh my God, I haven't had any clients. I haven't had anybody reach out to me. It's been 3 months. What's going on? Now you're freaking out. And it's a lot harder when you're in that space to be objective in your business and say, okay, maybe this is what's not working.
But the thing is, when did it start? When did this start to not work anymore? What happened? You might not be able to pinpoint it exactly, but you could say, okay, it started slipping in September. What was I doing in September? Oh, I went on vacation. Oh, all right. Well, who was doing the stuff that I normally did? So-and-so. Okay. So they didn't, I didn't see it. So did it pick up? No. Whatever it is, start backtracking. Try to figure out what happened. You do that in every other thing. The problem is that I see so often, even in marketing, is they silo. I know we've talked about this. Everybody talks about this. You silo the channels. So social's off doing social stuff. Email's off doing email stuff. You've got your conferences and the salespeople doing your sales stuff. And no one's talking to anybody else. And when I have said to people, can we get together so that perhaps once a month we could do a social campaign together? I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You have a link to the social post, right? Well, you make it interactive and I push people to it. Well, why would we want to do that? To test? And I have this conversation a lot. It doesn't always work. But it doesn't always work because there's no push. There's no emotional push. In other words, when you go to Facebook and there's a conversation from, a product or a service or whatever it is, and you're involved in that product or service, you may have something to say about it. But if you didn't know the post was there, you wouldn't be able to say anything about it. And if the company knows we're going to post this, it's somewhat of a big thing and we want people to see it, why not send your email list to it?
Yeah.
Why not plan on that once a month? Keep testing it. See if it does anything. If it does anything to your social, if it does anything to your email. After 6 months, it may do nothing to anything. Okay, doesn't work.
Yeah.
But not a lot of people test that. And I don't understand it. It is the typical push that email, you push the concept of pushing people into an app. Oh, yeah, we want to do pushes. Yeah. So why not push people into social? It's the same
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah. No, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Especially like if you're building your business and let's say you're happy on social media. You're constantly putting things out there. You know that that's where your face is. You know that's where people get to know you, right? Your email list then is a way to bring those people back in and follow up. Because we all know, right, that social media doesn't make it to everyone. You don't always see everybody's posts. If you do, sometimes it's 5-7 days out, or because you didn't like anything in the last few days, you don't get any content for 3 months, right? Like, so you're right. It does make sense to have a strategy on where do we want people to go, whether that's pushing them to your social media, pushing them to your website, because that's where everything's at, or whatever the case may be. You're right. You should have a direction in where you're putting people in front of what you do. And for some people, right, maybe that is your email list. So on social media and your website, you're constantly talking about subscribing to your list because that's where you love writing, right? I know a lot of people that love doing blog posts and things like that in their email, and they have people that love it. But that's knowing your audience, knowing where your audience is and where they're going to enjoy your content to, again, have that know, like, and trust factor with you. And you really have to understand that. And you're right. If you're not testing it and if you're not speaking with other people that are working with you in your business, because you just sent it to some company that said they do it for $500, right? Then you're missing out. So there's a difference between delegation and completely handing it off. And I don't think anyone, especially in a solopreneur world or small business, should hand something completely off to the point to where they're like, oh, it's fine, they got it. Like it's still your business. It's still your hub. Those are still people working on your behalf, and no one can share your message or your product or your service exactly the way that you can.
Right. And if you don't get those metrics back, you're not aware of how your mission is aligning with your customers or who you think your customers are. Because you may find these aren't my customers. When did that happen?
Yeah.
Where's the list coming from? I mean, it might even get to that point. And then you've got, oh, I've got this great list, but they're not my customers. They have no clue who I am.
Yeah.
So, the other thing about, not to harp on the social, but if you push people into social, that triggers the algorithm, because if they even just click and they land on your post, now they're going to be seeing your brand for a little bit longer in their feed. If they don't engage with it, it will eventually go away. But now you are pushing them, and you're adding a little bit of wood to the fire, so that you're exposing yourself. And that doesn't necessarily happen. Obviously, it doesn't necessarily happen with well, it does happen with ads. So let's say, business wise, for LinkedIn, you send a B2B relationship to LinkedIn, to your feed. Now, I'm sorry, to a post. Now it's in your feed, right? And they'll see you for a few weeks. But if you do it in Facebook, if you are running Facebook ads, then the Facebook ad pops up.
Okay.
So they're not necessarily, they will see other interactions and engagement, because now they've touched you, now they're in your feed, and they'll see other engagement. But if you have Facebook ads running, or the other types of ads, then that advertisements, also the promotion will pop up. So there are lots of things that can be done. get everybody out of the silo. And I'm not saying that everybody needs to know what everybody else is doing, because we don't need to know what everybody else is doing at all times. That's even worse. Where, okay, now we have a social meeting, and now we have a website meeting. And now, oh, please, I got work to do. Can you leave me alone?
Stay
So
in your lane, in your
yeah,
zone, genius.
it goes from one extreme to the other. I'm merely saying that everybody agrees once a month we're going to have a social ad to get a social promotion. We're going to do it together. Or, we're once a month we're going to do, some sort of a website thing where it could be the blog. People do that. They send people to the blog. So once a month we're going to do that, but it's going to be some sort of a, we're going to do some sort of a white paper, whatever it is, right? You make an agreement, and it's something you run for 3 months to 6 months, and you see what happens. And you give it some creativity, and you have fun with it.
Well, that's the whole point of building your business, right? Like, that's what we tell everybody. And we're starting to hear it a little bit more, that, you want to build your business your way. You want people to like you for you. That's why people are going to genuinely connect with you. That's how you get your organic leads. That's how you get your organic clients. I know some people are all about ads and like streamlining it across the thing. And that's fine too. But for a lot of us, right, I know people that are not into making millions and millions of dollars. So having those closer connections, having those more organic feeds makes a lot more sense. And you still can only do that if you're the one that's in control and know what's going on within your hub of your business. That's why people connect with you, right? Because they know, like, and trust you. They're like, oh, I love this person's opinion, or I love the way that they talk, or, something to that effect. And that's why people connect. And it's interesting because, a lot of people don't think about that, but while yes, your product or your service that you're offering, like, yeah, people want it, a lot of times they're buying it because of the connection with you.
Right. Because if they don't like you, it doesn't matter what product you have. Right. So if for whatever reason I've decided that I'm never going to shop at DSW again, I don't care what shoes they have. I won't go there. If I was treated badly, or if I had a bad experience,
Yeah.
Done me wrong. And that is how people think. I mean, we're very emotional. We are not rational beings.
You're not.
We are not rational. We're very emotional beings. And I might say, I'll get on my FOMO soapbox. I hate FOMO. I hate gimmicks. I really hate gimmicks. I really feel if you've got a service and you've got a product, you don't need a gimmick. You have a niche. You've created this because people have a need. Why do you have to scare them into buying something? Oh, only 5 days left. Don't do that to people. Because how many times are you going to do that until they realize those 5 days turned into like every single day of the year? You're always telling me I got 5 days left. What am I buying now? Don't do. People are not stupid.
Yeah.
People are not stupid. So yeah, they'll get FOMO once, so they'll get fear of missing out one time. I just hate the concept. Also, discount coupons. You're painting yourself into a corner, because at some points in your time, they're just going to sit there and wait for the discount coupon. Right? Oh, I'll just wait because I know it's coming. I'm not buying. So, I don't know, I do this, but I'm a marketer, but I think that a lot of people have figured this out at this point. You go put it in your cart, you don't buy it, you wait. You wait for that discount, you wait for that email says, oh, you've got something in your cart. Here's 10%. I'm buying it now. If you keep doing that, doesn't that mean that you're either you have no sense of business, or your profit margin is off? That you can constantly give 10, 15, 40, whatever percent off? Something's wrong with your profit margin. Does that mean the product, is only like it's 50% of what you're showing people?
Yeah.
You're showing people, oh, my markup is 100%. If your markup's 100%, then stop. It's problematic. But people will continue to do it because it's classic marketing. And I cringe, and I'm sorry. I might be the only honest person in marketing, but I really, really do believe that the relationship should be again, we're not rational beings, but when I buy a pair of shoes, I'm buying them either because I need them, they're cheap and they're cute, or, I mean, I have a shoe fetish and I just keep buying shoes. And there are people like that who do that. So, and it doesn't matter what the price is, they just keep buying shoes. So, the point is that I have DSW. I'm going to buy all my shoes from DSW. And this is the way I shop, so it's not the way everybody shops, but I shop. I would rather buy online than go to the store. And COVID only made that worse. So I like Skechers. I like Clark's. I mean, there are brands that I like. I know what size and I know what type of shoe. So every 2 times a year, because there are seasons, 2 times a year, I buy my Clark's and my Skechers from DSW. Doesn't matter if they're on sale or not. I don't care. I've got a VIP. It's okay. They've never treated me wrong. They have a few nice programs. They have their sales. I don't need to buy shoes when I don't need. How many pairs of sandals can I wear? When the summer comes around springtime, or usually sometimes even now, wintertime, because I do know that the shoes that I might have now that I love, a pair of sandals that I love, might be on sale, and I could buy the exact same ones for next year. Yeah. So that's the kind of shopper I am. But it's not like DSW needs to think about this and scare the heck out of me. They have nice products. So is there FOMO working on other people? Perhaps. Is it working on me? It's going right over my head. Yeah. I get all of their emails. I don't care. When I'm ready to shop, I'm going to shop.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, that comes back to having a strategy, right? Knowing your customers, knowing where they're going to find you, knowing what their needs are, and having a strategy behind that so that you're creating that natural environment, right? We're not saying that you can't ever do discount codes and stuff. I've seen people that do it like once a year. It's just like something they offer because it's toward the new year. Well, obviously I'm not going to wait all flipping year if I really want something from then to buy it. So that's a little bit different, but I understand exactly what you're saying for those that it's like every month or every other month. And I do it with grocery stores. I'm like, man, I'm waiting to buy that one because I know that.
Exactly. A lot of companies do it when they're trying to push last year's stock out. So the shoes that I'm going to buy that were this year's sandals, they're not going to make it to next year because they're going to have a whole new line. So I can buy this year's sandals going into new year at a discount. That's the way it should be. That's a natural.
Yeah, no, I love that one completely. Well, as we come, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that makes sense. That's the way discounts initially were born. The concept of discount, pushing out last year's product or the seasons and, something like that. At the end of the season is going to be cheaper than it was in the beginning.
Yeah, which makes sense, right? That to me, that there's a strategy that makes sense in my opinion. So I get exactly what you're saying. And the FOMO thing drives me crazy when people do that stuff constantly. So, but anyway, we digress.
And we digress. You took it right on.
As we come to a close, Joy, I can't thank you enough for being a guest and sharing all of your wisdom and insights and all this stuff, especially around email marketing. Like I don't think that we understand all that. And as entrepreneurs, right, a lot of us don't have business backgrounds of running other companies. And so we're walking in blind and we're just trying to figure out whatever anybody else is telling us. So I appreciate your honesty and all of the information. One thing before we go, I always love to ask my guests if you happen to have a quote or a piece of advice you would like to leave the audience with.
Ooh, a quote. I have so many, all the good ones are, a quote, a lot of Stoic things, and the old Socratic method, the old Socratic saying, know thyself. It's like, I'm always becoming, but and it goes back to the first question you asked me about, who are you? What do you do? And it's like, I don't really know everything about myself because I am always becoming. And if I put myself in a box, it may be comfortable, but it really isn't doing anybody any service. So know yourself and always become, because that just means you're able to enjoy the day, really enjoy the day, because you're always taking something into account that you hadn't taken into account before. And here's another one. I reserve the right. I'm highly opinionated, and I reserve the right to change my opinions on a moment's notice, because I'm always becoming. I might, be like, oh, you know what? Gosh, I'm wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I love both of those, but I really like that as well. Cause I do think that sometimes we get stuck in who we are in that moment. And then as soon as our minds want to change, or we listen to someone else, we're like, oh, you know what? That actually makes more sense. Or I can agree with that more. We kind of get stuck in this, oh, but
we don't have to all be on the same team. We can be on 5 teams at once. We can have a bunch of different opinions, and they all don't need to completely align. Don't beat yourself up. Just let it happen. Like, oh, that's interesting. Just needs to be interesting. Learn about it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Joy, how can everybody connect with you, be in your world, learn more about you, follow you, all the things?
For people. So on LinkedIn, I'm Joy Brooks. That's with an I, Joy Brooks, JoiBrooks. And at Joy Brooks at Twitter or X. I wonder when they're going to change. They changed the logo, but nobody's going to. We don't call it X yet. At X, I'm at Joy Brooks. I am on Facebook, but it tends to be a warm and fuzzy place and not a business place for me on Facebook. But I'm Joy Brooks on Facebook too, and on YouTube, it is Email and Coffee with Joy Brooks. That's the YouTube show that I do. You probably can find me at Joy Brooks on YouTube as well.
Yes, she has an amazing podcast. We had so much fun. I love the conversations.
Thank you. As is this one and yours.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, Joy, again, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast and sharing all of your amazing wisdom and insight and everything. I can't thank you. I love conversations like this. So
I really appreciate you inviting me. Thank you.
You are so welcome. So to everybody else out there, I hope you guys got some amazing takeaways. Were you taking notes? Because I know that I was. And be sure to follow Joy if you have any email marketing questions and things like that. She's definitely going to be the one to reach out to. And be sure to check out her awesome podcast, which I had the pleasure of being a guest on as well. Email and Coffee. It is a great conversation. She does an amazing job at conversating and pulling questions and things out of her people. So to everybody out there, I hope you got some great nuggets today. And don't forget, until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. So until next time, have a fantastic day. Hello again, and thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode and it brought tons of value, we ask that you please share, like, and subscribe. Your support means the world to us and helps us to reach even more inspiring entrepreneurs who can benefit from these powerful conversations. If you haven't already, be sure to leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, as this feedback is an amazing gift that fuels our growth and helps us to continually improve this podcast. Looking for an extra dose of inspiration and empowerment? Then be sure to connect with me on social media. You can find me at The Lotus Effect, where I share valuable resources and tips while sharing my own journey of being an entrepreneur. And if you're interested in learning more about my coaching programs and services, be sure to check out my website at the-lotus-effect.com. Once again, thank you so much for being a part of Real Chat with Kat. Your presence and support makes all the difference. Remember, whether you find yourself in the depths of the mud or on the path of growth, we all have a unique journey. And just like the lotus, some of us start in the dirtiest of mud, yet as we rise and grow, we blossom into something beautiful, unique, and truly one of a kind. To all of my visionaries out there, keep rising and growing as you create your own lotus effect.